to the maritime industry. So it gives me great pleasure now to introduce Ronald Spithout from Inmarsat Marine to come up and talk about what these new communication services are enabling and where we see that kind of platform providing extra value to a number of different businesses within the industry, not least from the technical companies through Emblem and then Inge Sandvik and Wilhelmsen and Mike Konstantinidis from Metis Cyberspace technology. So first of all, I'd like to introduce Ronald to come up. That's great. And a clicker.
Well, first of all, thank you very much for having me here. I prepared a couple of slides trying to answer the question whether satellite, and for that matter Inmarsat, will play a meaningful role in what we will call the new digital society. I think we are, and I'll put a few slides on to show you why. First of all, we call this digital society. I take it from a very large distance, and digital society overarches everything. It's not only at sea, it's on land, it's everywhere. A digital society, as we see it, is a hyper-connected society. Hyper-connected means everything connected to everything. Hyper-connected means closer. Oh, okay. Is it better? Yeah. Means that on a real-time basis, everyone and everything has a need to communicate to something else. And the real-time is one of the key topics here. Because if we are so real-time dependent on communication, then the communication infrastructure on itself becomes a kind of critical national infrastructure, where human beings are fully dependent on their daily basis on that infrastructure. And we're not talking about a nation here, we're not talking about a country here, this is a global thing. Right? So a communication platform in the digital society is becoming a kind of a critical need. Now, why do we feel that satellite in general is playing a role in that society? A couple of years ago, you would even think that satellite would be at its last leg. Well, the contrary is true. We believe that there are a couple of core functionalities in a satellite network that are making a satellite network the kind of unmissable feature for the digital society. And still, I'm talking land and sea and in the air. And then in a few slides I will dive down into the sea. First of all, that new digital society is requiring mobility. Mobility because everyone is having his handset, his smartphone, his device with applications on it, and they're used to it in the big city, and they want to use it everywhere else in the world as well, in a mobile basis. So mobility is key. And I just had two examples here from a plane and a vessel, where mobility in connectivity is not a very natural thing. Satellites require that. It also requires coverage. If you are talking about, for instance, connected cars in the future, for that matter, right? Thing if updates on the cars could be provided regardless political or country borders. Now, a satellite, per definition, provides a coverage global over the countries and political institutions. Reliability. If you are depending with your business on it on a day-to-day basis, reliability of the network is key. Well, the satellite networks that we are putting in the air are reliable and for a very long time. And it's becoming more and more important to have that reliability in the system. Because in that digital society, we are talking about taxi companies without taxis. And we are talking about hotel companies without hotels. So it's not the assets there that play the role. It is the always, everywhere connectivity that is the key feature for these kind of companies. And that's what we are talking about talking disruption. Then stability. It's not only in shipping, but also in energy and in many of the industries that once you put something out in the field, you want that to be supported as long as you can. Well, an average vessel has a lifespan of about 20 years. Satellite organizations are working only with 20 years life cycles and not shorter than that. So you're not dealing with with fastly moving network components that are getting out of fashion or being not supported. Once you have the satellite up, it's there for 20 years. And then resilience. Most of the satellites, but our satellites for sure, are know exactly where our lander stations are. It's all part of the same network. Security is one of the biggest things. And if you dive down into the maritime industry, which is kind of a late adopter to the Internet of Things, right, you're creating a large problem for yourself if you don't do that in a cyber-secured way. So cybersecurity and best practices are a good thing in satellites that are supporting this. And the last one, because I won't bore you too long with the construction of a satellite network, but what a satellite network has that no other network has is the capability to broadcast. And in a world of end-to-end, in a world of connected devices, in a world of connected planes and vessels and cars, and take an example of those cars. The connected car is not driving anymore on fuel, but it's also not really driving on electricity. The connected car is driving on software. And software, like your iPhone or your smartphone in your hand, needs updates. Well, you know from yourself, from the smartphone that you have, that those updates come more and more often. And that will be the same time with planes or vessels. They need updates. And broadcasting updates and trickling them down in a simultaneous way, regardless political borders or place on the earth, that is one of the features that can't be beaten on the satellite. So we really believe that in the digital society, satellites will play a very important role. Now, then looking at it from a telecom operator's perspective. A couple of years ago, it was all about the occasional text message, or it was about voice, or it was about connectivity to the internet, and that was about it. These are the things that are driving users over the network today. And by the way, 70% of a telecommunication network is occupied by video today. Not by data, it's video. But if you look at from left to right, of course, it's the Internet of Things and machine to machine, the end-to-end world. It is the challenge from an operator perspective to support the bring your own device. Every crew member on a vessel has on average 3 devices with him in his pack when he's entering the vessel. We're talking apps on each device. There are plenty of them, and he or she would like to use them everywhere in the world. There are cloud services supporting that all. There are the new e-commerce retailers that are popping up in any given industry. And of course there's big data and the blockchain revolution that we're all watching. So from a satellite, but also from an Inmarsat perspective, we are not talking about the Internet of Things, but much more about the Internet of everywhere, because that is the challenge for a satellite operator. Now, if you then narrow it down to a vessel, Inmarsat launched Fleet Express. Fleet Express is in fact a double cellular network in the sky. So there's an L-band network and there's a Ka-band network, and both are cellular networks. So all the cells everywhere are overlapping with the other cell, meaning global coverage, meaning mobility, meaning seamless connections wherever you are. And the idea is to create an environment that is either safer or smarter or greener or at least more efficient, so that vessels and companies are more capable dealing with each other and with the future. And still, it is not only about all that connectivity. At the time that we started designing the new satellites, and by that time, which means 3-4 years ago, there was no cellular setup on the Ka-band network. It didn't exist, so we leapfrogged that in technology. But we already agreed that that is not enough. We would like to become the enabler of that digital revolution on board. And so far, there have been too many blockages everywhere, right? Restricting the onboarding of business applications or the Internet of Things or big data. What we did is, in between the network and you as a customer, we have built at the same time a software layer. We call that the gateway, and the key in that is that it comes with heaps of application programming interfaces, allowing applications to deal with our network. And that makes it unique. One of the big blocking items for business applications on your vessels was always the unpredictability of the cost. The application has links to the network, that the application can trigger its own network from the satellite, that the application can determine what bandwidth you need, and also pay for it, by the way, so that the application provider can come to you on a vessel on a flat fee basis. Well, that would remove the major hurdle in the industry, and that is exactly what we've done. So we realize the importance of satellite communication, but we more realize that there's something that needs to be done in between the network and yourself. So what we saw in the last 2 years is a fast expanding ecosystem, where historically a company like us, like Inmarsat, had a distribution network, and that was it. Right now, we are surrounded by a large number of application providers that have an interest in the maritime industry and that are using that gateway that we provided to link their applications to our network. So I just put the 6 important ones on the slide, and you see them in that pile over here. And I will peel them off one by one to give you an idea about what it could mean in the digital society and why it supports and enables the disruption that we are talking about today. So I just mentioned them, and it will say nothing to you. Well, we're talking about dynamic bandwidth, we're talking about supplementary bandwidth, we're talking about content repositioning and the likes. I can't sell that to you because it has no meaning. It has a meaning for me as a network operator, it has no meaning for you as a user. But it will become clear if you see what you could do with it. So for instance, dynamic bandwidth. Now imagine that there is a telemedicine application that is using the APIs that we have in our gateway to trigger its own bandwidth. A telemedicine application ideally would have a video connection, so if something really bad happens on board, that doctor from shore is zooming in and can see what is happening to support whatever needs to be done. Now typically those applications are very bandwidth hungry. In the old style networks, you would have to cater for that bandwidth for the whole month, because you would buy a speed or you would buy an allowance. Well, I believe that allowance plans are something of the past anyway. So let's say you buy a speed. You would never buy, for a commercial operating vessel, you would never buy 15 megabits per second for the whole month. So dynamic bandwidth is the feature in the gateway that allows that telemedicine application to call that 15 megabits directly from the satellite for as long as you need it in that operation. Now then suddenly it starts to have meaning, right? You can also think about an engine monitoring application where I'm sure that most of the engine manufacturers would like to have nothing more than to give you a flat fee preventive monitoring and maintenance type of agreement for your vessel for that engine. Today they couldn't do it, but if that application is paying its own subscription on that vessel and that everything that needs to be done on that engine in capacity terms is already paid for by the engine manufacturer, suddenly that flat fee agreement comes into reach. Now that is exactly what they are doing with a secondary subscription. They can buy their own subscription on that gateway. So those are examples of how these things come to life for a vessel operation. But it goes deeper than that. Many of those things make sense on a company level. We all know that the maritime industry is going through some rough times and tough times, and not a lot of money is made throughout the industry. So if you are a ship manager, right, or an operating company, you would have much more than only the operation of the vessel. Because most of you have a catering organization, you have departments taking care for lubricants, you have departments taking care for training, people management, and so on. And each of these departments are running on applications. Now, for instance, content repositioning would be the feature in the gateway that allows you to put all your training on the vessel on real time. So we put it on the vessel from the satellite, in the download of the satellite, and you can use it whenever you want. There are no CDs, no DVDs, no USBs anymore, and if you talk about cybersecurity, the USB is probably the biggest enemy of all. So we just trickle down the content, put it on the platform on the vessel, and everyone could use it on their own device, because they have those devices anyway. So these are the features in the gateway that are happily used by those application providers. Therefore, we think that something like this, the combination of seamless mobility, global coverage, and a gateway like that, is absolutely enabling the disruption that you want to talk about, Greg. I think this is my last slide. If you're talking about satellite communication in the maritime industry, what do you expect? You expect reliability, you expect global seamless mobility. If you're fully dependent with your day-to-day operations, you don't want to have not spots or black spots, or spots where suddenly you don't pay for the speed, but you pay for the usage. As a mix of it, you don't want to have that. So global seamless, continuous broadband, with safety and security built in, right, and a long-term maritime commitment. Our name is still Inmarsat, where Mar stands for maritime. We are not like any other average satellite operator who is interested in maritime only when the other business models are failing. Maritime is in our DNA, and it's the core of the Inmarsat business. So this is my last slide. I hope this just spurs the discussion and the questions great. This just spurs the discussion.